The battle is coming. Make no mistakes, guys, the battle is coming. I'm sure most of you remember when we used to sing Winter's Coming, but it seems like this time we've changed the tune to The Battle is Coming. So House of the Dragon is now halfway done, having spent majority of its 5 episodes setting the board for future strife. But this resistance begins to pay off dramatically in episode 5, which not only marks the midpoint of the series but also provides the inciting incident for the civil war to come. And like Game of Thrones before it, the war will be over succession and it will follow royal blood spilled at the wedding. And I thought this was such a classic move. So hi guys, welcome to All Things House of the Dragon. My name is Mel, and in this video we are going to talk about or just have a recap of House of the Dragon episode 5, which just aired not so long ago. So as a thank you, I would really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button and the like button. But otherwise, let's get on to it. So We Light the Way, as the episode is called, concerns itself with some pretty regular Westeros drama. But when the drums of House Velaryon announced the arrival of Lord Corlys to Rhaenyra and Laenor's pre-wedding feast, everyone instantly knows that shit is about to go down. And down it goes at a party that has the Targaryens, the Velaryons, the Coles, the Hightowers, and the whatnot throwing fists and accusations around. This is from committing murder, declaring war, and even a little dance. King Viserys did indeed manage to give his daughter a wedding for history books, and I thought it was also appropriate and an exciting conclusion for the first half, which follows Rhaenyra's days as a young princess. So from next week, Amadasi will pick up the torch as the woman who would be queen, and her best friend turned Queen Alicent Hightower will go from being played by Emilia Carey to Olivia Cook. And all I can say about these two amazing actors is that their amazing performances will certainly be missed. But at least these two actresses got to say goodbye to the show in style. But it's a Game of Thrones spin-off, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. So before all the action and imminent change, there was a lot of build-up going on. Even if the story was airing more on the side of relationship drama and palatial politics. To be fair, We Light the Way begins with a pretty shocking, though not exactly surprising scene. We saw the murder of Lady Rhea Royce. So Prince Daemon never showed any kind of affection for his wife, and let alone just speaking nice things about her. And it was pretty clear that the thought of offing her crossed his mind, and this was when Viserys denied him Rhaenyra's hand to marriage, because he was still actually married. But still, I feel like what happened next, I was not expecting it. I don't know about you guys. But he showed up to Vale right away to throw his wife off her horse and bash her head with a rock. Talk about crazy Daemon. And framing the whole thing as a gruesome hunting incident. Poor Lady Rhea didn't even have the time to defend herself. So Lady Rhea dying was all for nothing. This is because while Daemon was taking a trip to end his marriage, his beloved niece was boarding a boat with her dad and a royal entourage to find herself a husband. As Rhaenyra and Viserys agreed in at the end of episode 4, also have a recap of episode 4 which will be linked to the top right corner if you're interested. The princess will marry Lord Corlys' eldest son Laenor to assure stability for the realm. As a bonus, the marriage will also unite two houses of Old Valyrian, ushering in a new age of dragon, at least according to Viserys. That's all in his head. So Rhaenyra and Laenor seems to be a good match, right? But the in-laws have some concerns, but of course it's nothing that can be assuaged. So Lady Rhaenys worries that Rhaenyra's claim to the throne will be disputed, throwing both families and the entire realm into war. But this unease is quickly put to rest by her husband, who reminds her of the House Velaryon's military strength. Lord Corlys, on the other hand, wants his children to carry his family name Velaryon instead of Targaryen, to which the king agrees as long as they change their last name to Targaryen once they rise to the throne. Okay, so let's put all these small preoccupations aside. So the princess and her future husband understand each other quite fully. So Rhaenyra is fully aware that her cousin and betrothed prefers the company of other men, or call it roast dog. And then Rhaenyra proposes that they fulfill their duties to their families and then dine as they see fit. I hope you know what dine means there. So it's a win-win scenario for the young couple, their parents, and also their respective paramours. Well, kind of. Leno's lover, Joffrey, is more than okay with the plan, but Sir Christian isn't happy about being Rhaenyra's lover. As a matter of fact, the knight is heartbroken when the princess refuses to elope with him to Essos, and hell hearth to fury like a king's guard scorned. You know how we always care about not to mess with a scorned woman? You definitely do not want to mess with a scorned king's guard. So back at King's Landing, Queen Alicent doesn't have much to do apart from cradling babies and walking around the Red Keep as she waits for her husband and stepdaughter to come back from the trip. So the Queen has a lot of free time in her hands to think about her father's last words before leaving the city. So her father told her that the king is gonna die and it won't take long. And when Rhaenyra finally takes the throne, she won't be able to hold on to the throne unless if she puts the swords on the heads of Alicent's children. And honestly, as a mother, obviously you want to protect your cubs. So really confused Queen Alicent. So the warning still echoes in her head when a wild Larry Strong appears to spill the tea on Rhaenyra's special Plan B tea, the moon tea that she was given at the end of episode 4. So this just went on to undermine the queen's trust in the princess because this means that she lied to her. She lied to her about saying that she did not sleep with Daemon or whoever, she did not sleep with anyone. But if she's taking Plan B or the moon tea, it means that something definitely did happen. So when the ships return from Driftmark, Alicent takes it upon herself to learn the truth about Rhaenyra's night out. Except that what she ends up discovering isn't what she expected. Alicent calls a Christian over for a chat, hoping the knight will offer her some insight into what happened between Princess Rhaenyra and Daemon. Believing the Queen's subtle remarks to be about himself and not about Daemon, Christian confesses to breaking the king's guard vow with Rhaenyra. He owns up to his crimes and accepts that he must be punished, but still asks Alicent for a bit of mercy, which she most definitely will have, at least for him. But we can't say the same about Rhaenyra. So now that Alicent is certain that Rhaenyra has already lied to her once and might do it again, she sees part of her father's prophecy coming true as the king's health declines even further. Early on in the episode, His Majesty seemed to be suffering from a severe case of seasickness, but it soon turned out that being on dry land did nothing to make him feel better. The sores that have been popping all over Viserys' body since episode 1 seems to have developed into something even more severe, and there's little that the Misters can do other than just easing his pain. However, the King Viserys still has enough strength to host a welcoming feast for all his daughter's wedding guests and plan a 7-day celebration for the royal union. Sadly for him, things didn't go quite as planned. So the welcoming banquet is held without the queen as guests arrive from across the realm. The preceding formalities, including the dinner and dance, all appears to signal future conflict and alliances to come. But first, let's discuss the seating arrangements. So House Velaryon sits to the left of the king alongside Rhaenyra. And if you remember in the first episode, Lord Corlys sat across the king almost in opposite. But he is now allied with the crown, so this gives him a position on the left-hand side of the king. To the king's right, we have the hand of the king, as per usual, and we also have Daemon, who appears in a dramatic solo entrance, having recently made himself a viable bachelor. Also on the right is the queen's chair, though she has not yet appeared, and House Hightower seated below. The paramours, Cole and Leno's boyfriend, stand across from one another, embodying the tangled affections of those in attendance. So, although the drums of House Velaryon are what really got my blood pumping for the upcoming hostilities, it is not until Daemon shows his recently widowed face at the feast that things starts going very south for Viserys, Rhaenyra, and also Laenor. When one of Lady Rhea's cousins accuses Daemon of the murder, the king and his new hand, Lord Lionel, get suspicious of the prince. And this is a suspicion that grows later on when they see Daemon and Rhaenyra dancing dangerously close to one another. Then, Queen Alicent shows up late for the feast, entering the Great Hall right in the middle of the king's speech in a green dress. But what is significant about this is that the green color is the House Hightower's war color. But what really gets the party started is a small detail that none of the Buckland's main guests bothered to notice. Joffrey's brief conversation with Sir Criston about being paramount to the future king and king consort. So, Sir Criston is a true knight, a noble man, and a man of his word, and that precisely makes him so dangerous. He doesn't take lightly to Joffrey's talk of keeping each other's secrets, guilty as he is for having broken his vow, not to mention the sheer rage Rhaenyra's refusal awoke in him. While Daemon and Rhaenyra fantasize about killing Laenor, a scream cuts through the Red Keep's hall and the crowd starts to get agitated. Everything points to a fight, but in reality, it's a murder that King Viserys' guests are witnessing. With his own fists, Sir Criston smashes Joffrey's head to a pulp right in the middle of the dance floor, putting an end to the celebrations and leaving behind a young Laenor Velaryon in tears. So with everything that is happening, Sir Criston just killed someone at a feast. He slept with Princess Rhaenyra, which is treason. He felt overwhelmed and then tries to take his own life, but is later on stopped by the merciful Queen Alicent. So Sir Criston's attempted suicide is interspersed between shots of Rhaenyra and Laenor's small somber wedding ceremony. The teary-eyed bride and groom say "I do" to one another just mere seconds before King Viserys collapses to the ground. So far, there's no way of knowing whether he's dead or just passed out. But with Queen Alicent putting together her army and Rhaenyra and Daemon getting closer and closer with every passing day, it's pretty certain that the king won't rest in peace in the years that separate this week's episode from the next, no matter if it's above or below the ground. So that's it from me, guys. I would really love to know what you guys think about this episode, and I will catch you next time.